Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm with a very special guest, the one and only Sir Nicolas.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. I listened to your whole music selection. I liked your beats you did by yourself, the beats with other artists, things like that. I really like your sound a lot.
Thanks, man.
And on your Instagram, it says that you're a producer and an audio engineer.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for up and coming artists to understand the difference between those. So I think that's my first question. Explain the differences between being a producer and an audio engineer.
So, the way that I like to think about it is like production is more so complementing the vocalist, or if it's just by itself, it's it's just like painting an image for the listeners, and then audio engineer is more so just like tweaking the image. So, like let's say you get a painting, right, and you do your initial sketch and you fill out the painting. Well, the audio engineering is more so like coming in and doing the shading and fine tuning things. So, like, you can take there's like a lot of really simple beats that are really dope because they're mixed really well, and you can be like the average listener will listen to it and be like, man, like this song's really good, but then a producer will listen to it like, damn, like there's only like 4 or 5 elements in this, but it sounds so big and it just sounds so like lush and full. And it's just like, audio engineering can do wonders.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm going to a concert or something, it's really, especially when I'm going to a concert, I can tell like what an artist is doing right in person and the different sounds versus when it's like over a song or anything like that. Some artists sound better live or sound worse live.
Yeah.
And because like I focus in on media, I really notice those like fine tuning things, or even when it's like in a fucking car, you can tell the difference if someone has subwoofers or not, or anything like that, you know?
Oh yeah. And I feel like for me, like, something's mixed well when you can play it on your phone. You can still hear the kick knock, and you can hear a little bit of like the bass booming a little bit more. And then I'm like, oh man, if I can hear this on the phone, like I can only imagine how it sounds in good headphones.
Mm. So what'd you start first? Were you an audio engineer or a producer?
So I actually started with music, with rapping. Actually,
Okay.
I started rapping when I was like 12, 13 years old, and then from there I started to dabble in production because I was just like finding, like, I would download like Alchemist beat tapes and DJ Premieres, like instrumentals and stuff. Like I was just heavily into sample based music. So I'm from Jersey, so I grew up on like New York rap and hip hop and R&B and everything, like East Coast, and then I dabbled with other stuff, but I got into production through listening to Jay Dilla and Flying Lotus on Adult Swim. Like I remember the day that it happened because I'm watching Adult Swim and they had this one bump called it was called the baggage room bump or baggage claim bump, and it was Flying Lotus' song Massage Situation. And the way the bump starts off is in black and white because like the first part of the song was high passed, and then as soon as the bass drops, it changes color. And as soon as that happened, I was just like, this is what I want to make for the rest of my life.
Dude, they're basically like a fucking record label now, if you think about it. I think they actually literally are. I think you can be signed to Adult Swim.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. They had like a specific name for their record label. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Damn. Yeah, but they have an actual record label now, which is like they can do like those like singles, singles weekly, or I think it's like a singles week. Where they put out a bunch of singles and then it'll come out as a compilation.
It's dope. Like I think Run the Jewels have done a few songs and visuals that are Adult Swim type. I don't think they got credit for it, but that song with X with Kanye. It's like 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's like a rock song kind of. Have you seen the music video for that?
I don't think I have, no.
I have asked so many people and they haven't seen it. It's literally like a fucking Adult Swim thing. And you know how like in some shows they're like fucking brutally violent.
Oh yeah.
And it's like one of those, and it's fucking insane. It's like that. Have you seen Mr. Pickles?
Oh yeah.
It's just like that's like that animation.
We've seen Super Jail. That's like, I think that's like one of
the
traditional like Adult Swim cartoons that was like hyper violent, where people are like, damn, like those those ending sequences for all the episodes were like just like mad people get murked. I'm like, yeah. Like, yo, I can't even keep up.
That animation is sick though. Like my favorite director is like Quentin Tarantino for sure, or anything that he's like associated with, because he actually acts a lot too, especially like in his younger days.
Yeah.
And anything that he touched, like people's heads were definitely gonna be fucking exploding, blood everywhere. It's fucking.
not to interrupt you, have you ever gone and seen any of the movies that have inspired some of Tarantino's movies? Because those movies are really dope too.
Mm,
Like the movie that was like some of the inspiration for Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, Lady Snowblood.
mm.
You should definitely check that out.
Damn, yeah, I definitely do. I like samurai shit is so dope to me also. Like I watch a ton of fucking Korean action movies because
Yeah.
those guys are fucking brutal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like and like the action, like budgets are getting bigger for their movies now, so they're able to do so much.
One of the top zombie movies is called Train to Busan. Have you seen that?
Oh man, that's so good. Did you see the prequel? There's an animated
Yeah.
prequel.
Oh, they're coming out with the second movie too.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
trailer. I think isn't it supposed to come out like later this year, early next year?
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be really good too.
Yeah, dude. Fucking, I've been binging fucking zombie apocalypse movies and like alien shit during this whole fucking quarantine.
Yeah, same. I've been actually, it's funny because I've been kind of dabbling in like just, getting lost in the sauce on YouTube. And I've been finding like a lot of B movies because I grew up like watching a lot of like B horror movies and sci-fi films. So I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of like cult, like classic movies from like, I've always liked 80s because of like the way that they would do their FX. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of using CGI, they would use like practical effects. And I think practical effects, especially with like the way that the film looks back then, just adds like a certain like realistic feel to it, even though obviously it's a movie. But it's like you actually see like the way that they made somebody's head explode in the scenes. Like, damn, like that looks super realistic, even though like it's clearly just a dummy.
Mm-hmm. I like it better than what they do nowadays. Like I don't fucking like Avatar was a good movie, but that was just too much special effects. Shit like that. That's like where movies are headed. Even though that's like 2010 or something. That's like the base of what all movies look like now. Fucking
Yeah,
super animated. I
yeah,
like fucking animatronic shit better, like the fucking Ninja Turtles or shit like that.
yeah. Or like even like going back to like the Jaws, like the animatronics for Jaws, like stuff like that, where instead like you see like all these shark movies, like Sharknado and all that, whereas everything is CGI'd. And I'm like, man, when it's so obviously CGI'd, I kind of just disconnect from the movie. Because when you lose that realistic like you're watching a movie, but when you kind of lose that like genuine realistic feeling to the movie, where it's like, oh man, I'm attached to, like, if I was in these characters' shoes, like how would I react in this situation? But when like everything looks super fake around the characters, it's kind of hard to kind of immerse yourself in the story.
Like fucking what movie? I just watched it, like the new Lion King. Like that was supposed to be like photorealism or whatever, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Like I've never been a fan of like those animal movies where like the animals talk and like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
I just never was in it. I just thought this was kind of corny. Like when you just make the animal talk and stuff, and I don't know,
I
man.
I think fucking. Have you ever seen Doctor Doolittle though? The like the ones with Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, no yeah,
Fucking
I,
those animals looked better.
yeah. That okay. So that was like one of those instances where I'm like, okay, I can see this because they also like they made it more so where they're communicating with him. It's not just like animals talking to each other. Where it's like, I don't really give a shit what this cat's gonna do in this movie. Like, I don't know what this dog is like. There's like three dogs over here discussing something that I really don't care about. Instead of like interacting with like others, I don't know. I just wasn't really into any other of those animal movies aside from Doctor Doolittle because those are
Mm.
classics. Like, come on, it's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing about B movies, I think that's why that's why I like Quentin Tarantino the best is because he like puts like A-list actors in B movies, which
Yeah,
is fucking insane.
yeah. Like he does such man. He's like definitely one of those like cult classic. Like every movie he comes out with is like a cult classic, like
Hmm.
legendary, like kind of like a Stanley Kubrick of our generation kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's hard. It's probably one of the hardest jobs to like get recognized for being a movie director because
Yeah,
there's so select few that people really know by heart. So.
yeah. You have to like really like have. I feel it's kind of like when you hear like an artist's song and you can just tell by the sound who it is. It's like one
Mhm.
of those things where you kind of like you got to be able to have a certain style with your movies where you can just look at the movie and be like, oh, this is definitely a Tarantino movie or this is definitely a so and so movie.
Mhm.
I feel like some directors don't they get a little too lost in the story. Like if that makes sense, like they instead of like focusing on how they're going to portray the story, they focus too much on the story itself.
Mhm.
And so like it's not as artistic. I don't know. I want to say it's not as artistically driven, but it's just it's nothing that's like, okay, this is like exactly like you see these type of shots play out. Like, you know, when you see like a Tarantino fight scene, you know what kind of camera angles there's going to be or what kind of shots there's going to be because you know Tarantino's style from all his other movies. Like the cohesive kind of like formula that he has for his movies. And I think those kind of directors are the ones that people are like, oh, you know, this is a Spielberg movie. You know, this is a Michael Bay movie or anything like that.
It's almost like
for his explosions. Like you got to be kind of known for something within your work, specifically for people to be like, oh, you know, to look out for that particular thing when you're watching their movie. Or if you don't know it's them, you'll just pick it up.
It's almost like if it's not special, it's stock, especially with movies. Like something that I've been really noticing lately is like big budget movies. It's stupid, but you'll see like the fucking ceiling in the shot. But versus if it's not a big budget movie, you know, it's a fucking set and they're purposely not showing above their like hairline what's behind them because there's no roof there. It's just a set. Yeah. So I've been noticing that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when you start to like pick up on little things, like okay, like you can tell what kind of like you can almost kind of tell the budget of a movie based on certain shots and scenes. Or like when you see like an outdoor shot and like the characters are moving and the camera's following them, but you can literally like see the camera move with every footstep. And it's like, come on, bro, put a stabilizer on your shit.
A movie that did do well with that was fucking Chronicle, though. I loved Chronicle. Did you see Chronicle?
I don't think so. No, I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen. Who's it?
It's do you know who? I think the guy's name is Dane DeHaan, and then it's like Michael B. Jordan, and it's like these people find like this like alien ship, and it gives them like
powers.
Yeah, they have superpowers.
I've been wanting to see that. That's like the one where like that in the trailer, that one dude goes like that, and the Jeep goes flying off the side of the street. That's like behind.
Maybe.
Or is that Super 8? I might be thinking of Super 8.
They were both kind of shot in a similar style.
Okay.
So maybe. But it was cool because it was shot in Seattle. Well, it wasn't actually shot in Seattle, but they said it was. Like they were like, this is Seattle. But then like it ruined it for me because like the end of the movie, the pinnacle part was like this weird statue had to play in the movie. Like what was like this statue like had a big scene in the movie for basically, and it was like not even a real statue from Seattle. I'm like, this is not even in Seattle, so I don't know why you're saying this is Seattle. But yeah, it was crazy. It was like it was purposely shot terribly, kind of, but it was good. It wasn't like a Blair Witch. I think Blair Witch was shot awfully.
Yeah, I was about to ask like if it was like a found footage kind of movie.
It was like they were shooting it as it happened versus found footage. Like one of the people, I can't ruin it. It's such a good movie, but you have to watch it.
Check it out. I remember hearing about that one, and I was like, "Oh, I want to check it out." But then I kind of fell off of like watching movies in theaters. So I've been just like, you know, a streaming kind of person, like everybody else nowadays.
Do you think theaters are going to come back? I think they're kind of dunzos.
I mean, the fact that they kind of want to make a comeback, and I think it's kind of ironic now that they're going through. I don't know if you've seen like pictures or videos of like movie theaters like sanitizing themselves, and it's like it took till COVID now for y'all to start sanitizing the movie theaters. Like all the amount of sticky, like, you know, everybody knows you go to a movie theater 9 times out of 10 or 11 times out of 9, you put your hand down on the seat, and or like you grab you put your cup down on the cup holder, you take it out and go to take a sip from it, put it back down, your hand's sticky because the cup touched something in the holder. So
fucking gross.
Yeah, it's nasty. So it's like, it's not, I mean, now they're choosing to sanitize everything, but at this point, the way that streaming is, and now I think it was Disney that was like one of the first ones with Artemis Fowl, where they had like a movie that was supposed to be in theaters, but they put it directly to streaming because of quarantine. I think because of that, there is a chance that they just might start moving towards streaming platforms. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some movie studios eventually started having their own apps where it's like, okay, here's a movie. Like, these are movies that are out now, but they're not available for streaming platforms just yet. Oh shit,
yeah. That makes sense. They did that with Pete Davidson's new movie too. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. They did that King of Staten Island. Didn't that come out on YouTube?
I think it did. Yeah. I saw it because I have a Fire Stick. I watched it on the Fire Stick, and it was all right. Bill Burr was in it. I've been getting into comedy a lot lately too.
Oh, I love Bill.
Yeah, dude, he's fucking. Have you seen his old shit?
Oh yeah, that's it's just
Oh
so
my
classic, man.
God. Dude, it's fucking scary. Like this, he goes in, he goes past a point where you have to laugh because you're like, oh my God, how the fuck is he thinking of this type of shit?
Like it's funny because like seeing like from watching his older stuff and watching his newer stuff, you kind of see how he's kind of like calmed down a little bit, but then
Mhm.
he'll still have those outbursts where he's like talking about something that frustrates him. He's like, man, well, you know what? These super fucking idiots anyway. Like da da da.
Yeah, because he has a kid. He has two kids now, so like he had to calm down a little bit, you
Yeah,
know.
it was a minute. Like I remember, I think he was like in his like mid to late 30s when he was like not married yet, and I remember him like talking about. He's like, man, I don't know, I don't think I want to have kids because I think about having kids, and then like I go out in public and I see these kids acting a fool, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that shit.
Hmm. When it with his hair lost, he changed, you know.
Yeah, he lost his powers. He lost his anger once the red hair disappears. He's like,
Oh my God.
oh,
I I just found out that he has a podcast. I was listening to that this morning, and it's so fucking weird. It's like a podcast just with him though. He doesn't have guests or anything like that, and it's just him going on fucking rants. And it's like
yo,
Monday mornings with Bill Burr, and he just goes off. It's so fucking funny.
I gotta check that out because I thought he'd have guests, but if he's by himself, that's probably even funnier than if he's
Mm-hmm.
going for guests. He actually, I did catch one clip of his podcast because it was on YouTube, but he spoke about One Punch Man.
Mm.
He was saying how he really likes One Punch Man. He's like, yeah, I like One Punch Man because, like, it's like a macho kind of show. They don't really have shows like that, and they kind of make fun of like that whole like stereotype of anime where characters are really strong. So just one bald guy that just doesn't give a fuck about things, just knocking monsters into atoms and shit. I'm like, damn, yo, Bill Burr fucks with One Punch Man. All right.
I like that impression. You get all tight like he does, and he's like, that's how he does it, man. So with your music production, are you focused on getting it onto shows or anything like that? Like, what's your overall goal with this music?
So I am planning on doing shows. So I started off with production, just doing instrumental work, and then I started getting more into collaborating with vocalists. So I'm at the point now where I've been practicing because I didn't know any music theory when I first got into production. So
Mm.
within the past, I'd say like 6 years, 7 years, I've like brushed up on my music theory to the point where I feel comfortable with wanting to perform live. So I actually did put together like a little 3-piece band with my homie Paolo. He plays the bass, and my homie Chenzo, he's on the drums, and they're both really filthy. So like we've been like going through a couple of my songs and just practicing them live before quarantine hit. And then
Mm.
and the thing is though, so now that some places are starting to open, my studio is in the Chop area, and now
Oh
cops
shit!
are arresting people for going in that area for like if
Damn.
you don't have ID. And obviously my ID, first off, my ID is still my Jersey license, so it has my address from Jersey. So that's not going to work. And secondly, if I'm going somewhere that I'm going to be working at, my address isn't going to line up with that anyway. So I'm not
Mm.
like I just haven't been going over there. So we just been sending tracks back and forth to practice on. Like I'll just like break out stems, and I'll send like a version without the bass to Paolo so he can practice with that, and send a version of the songs without the drums to Chenzo.
Would
But
you DJ the shows, or how would you do it as a producer?
I would play the chords. So like I'd play the piano, the bass, and a little bit of the drums. So I'd be like just playing the keys, like triggering. Like I have like various equipment that I would trigger certain sounds with. But for the most part, I'd be playing everything out on the keys.
Damn, that sounds fun as fuck though.
It's a lot of fun, man. It's
Mm.
been a long time because like I hadn't really jammed with people while living out in Seattle because I've been out here from Jersey for like about 5 years now. So
Oh
like I've
wow.
collaborated with a lot of artists, but I've never jammed with anybody with like instruments since before putting this band together. And the last time was back home in Jersey, so it was like really refreshing to like, all right, guys, like we got band practice today. Like we're gonna like work on these 5 songs, and then you just get lost in the sauce because then after a while it feels like getting comfortable with playing the actual song, you get more comfortable with jamming. So there'll be times where like we'll just practice the whole song, and then at the end we'll just do like a 5-minute jam, and you
Mm.
like don't even realize like what's going on. It's like, oh shit, man, like that was dope. Like, man, I wish we were recording that.
You remind me of someone who seems like they'd like Steve Aoki or something like that.
I, to be honest, like I was kind of I was into EDM when I first got started
Mm.
with production. Like I do like electronic music, but Steve Aoki was a little bit more of like the housey, like fist pumping kind of EDM, and I wasn't really too into that. Like at that time, I was a little bit actually more into dubstep and
Mm.
like French house and stuff like that, like Daft Punk, Justice. I was listening to Delta Heavy and, you know, just like that kind of scene. But Steve Aoki, once like he started doing the whole cake thing, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna,
Oh shit, yeah.
I don't know about that. Going to somebody's show and getting caked, bro, that's not really the move for me. I'm not trying to get caked and then have to walk around New York City with cake all over my outfit, living in Jersey, having to ride the train back with that shit.
It seems like with your music, it's like it's definitely like a vibe. It's like it's like something that could be on like Adult Swim though. You know, like how would you describe your type of production style?
That's, you know, I always have a hard time with that just because like I have a lot of like my focuses are hip hop, R&B, and pop, but I get a lot of influences from like all kinds of music because I got it like when I first started producing, I was more into sample based production. So I go to record stores and flea markets, estate sales, just buy like shit ton of records. And I was like, I have influences from like jazz, like heavily influenced by jazz. I'm half Jamaican, so I got a lot of reggae influences and like Afrobeat influences. Like, I don't know if you heard my song Wayside, but that has a lot of that influence in there. But like, I like to pick and choose. Like, I like to blend sounds together rather than like, all right, I'm going to make just a hip hop beat today. Because like my hip hop beats still have like jazz chords in them. And I might even throw a couple more like electronic-y sounding instruments into it. So it's kind of hard to like really give a name to my sound. It's been like 3 years, man, and I've had such a hard time trying to figure out what to call my sound.
Do you think it fits better here or back in New Jersey?
I don't know, man. Like, I thought my sound would fit better out here, but I feel like my sound kind of does fit a little bit better back east, just because also I've been heavy with like I've been sitting on like a lot of like island vibe kind of songs, and I don't know too many artists out here that fuck with that. And there's a lot of Jamaicans back east, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like I have people that I can possibly reach out to back east that would fuck with this, but out here, like I can't really. If I show this to people, they're like, cool. What else you got? And I'm like, they weren't feeling beat.
I have some artists that could probably connect you with who'd enjoy those beats for sure, man.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm always open to collaborating with artists.
It's a big part of being an artist, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting because sometimes people focus so much on their own solo work, which is good. Like you want to perfect your craft, but you learn so much working with other artists. Like I have like my label LightWav. There's 4 of us total that are, and we're all producers. And my homie Chenzo, who plays the drums in my live band, he's one of the 4. But like I probably would not have progressed the way that I have the past 4 years without working with my team. Just because you learn so much from each other. Like you learn like tips and techniques that you might not have tried. Like somebody might be really good in this kind of like really good with music theory in this regard. And I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't even think about it like that, but you know something that I don't. So I'm just going to sit here and be a sponge and just like absorb everything from each other. So I think it's really good to have a team. Like you want to obviously perfect your own solo craft, but when you have a team, you can really build off each other and bounce ideas off each other.
How'd you build your label and everything? How'd that get all started?
So I moved out here. So the reason why I moved out to Seattle was there's a record label that I was working with called Underground Luxury. So originally I was going to move from Jersey to Colorado because I wanted to move somewhere that had a big music scene. So I met this label through SoundCloud through one of my friends who had some music with them. So I started talking closely with the CEO. We hit it off, and then I was like, you know what? Instead of moving to Colorado, I'm gonna just move to Seattle because I know people out there. So I moved out here. A year later, like I left that label, but I had met my homie Bogey through that label. So him and I like we're like best buds. So him and I are like, yo, you know what? Like that record label was a really trash label. Like the way that they're kind of, well, I don't want to like badmouth them, but they're taking advantage of artists. And then towards the end of the label, which caused me to leave the label, was that they weren't about the art anymore. They were just all about the money. Like the owner would be like, okay, like I'm gonna sign this project. I'm not really feeling it, but we can probably make some money off of it. And I'm like, bro, like how are you gonna really push something that you're not feeling? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's not right to push something that you don't believe in, because you're not gonna put your all into it. So that's unfair to the artist, because here they are thinking that you like their work enough to want to sign their work, and that you're not putting your all into it. And that's like a thing that artists run into a lot when trying to work with a record label, because I want to say a lot of times, most of the time though, um artists, I mean, labels just obviously have their that dollar sign in mind, so they can try and utilize you as much as they can, but if they aren't really feeling your music like that, then they're not going to promote it the way that they should. And I just wasn't about that, so I'm like, I'm just leaving this label and just going independent. Tried to leave on good terms. Dude wasn't having it, shut down the label. I'm like, well, cool, you shut down that label, that's protecting other artists then. So then my homie Bogey and I started our label, LightWav. And then I met my homie Fezzo through a DJ that I met from Portland. He was out here DJing, and my Fezzo went to the show. We were introduced to each other. I was like, yo, this dude's dope. And then my homie Chenzo moved out here from Jersey. Him and I have been known each other since college.
Hmm. So what's the difference between being in a label and a collective? Or are they basically the same thing?
Um, they're kind of the same. So the way that I like to look at it is that like a record label is more so going to be focused on solely music, as for like a collective, like instead of just focusing on music creatives, we can focus on a larger scale of things. So like, music creatives, we can like focus on graphic design work. We can focus on like cinematography. So like, I've had like we had a couple people that were like two people that were like graphic designers for the label for a little bit. So like, trying to work with them and get some stuff done. But at least with the collective, I think you could be a little bit more open. You're not kind of pigeonholing yourself. Like if you're a record label, like people, you think of a record label, you're like, okay, cool, music, like they do music. But a collective, you're like, okay, they're a little bit more than that. Like it's like kind of like an umbrella. You can be whatever you kind of want to be and do whatever you want to do.
So with a record label, do you think the money's more tight in a sense? Like with a how does, because with collective it means like basically anyone can join at any time in a sense, and as long as you follow the same morals and everything and are creative. But with like a record label, you're more likely to be trying to push out albums and things like that. So you'd have to make sure you're paying everyone, or because you're all friends, does that mean you guys are just helping each other out and rubbing each other's back? Or
I mean, for each other, like we all know that if we're working with each other's stuff, like the label is going to get that money first, and then we're going to pay ourselves, like if like whatever leftover there is. But when we're working with other people outside of the label, then we always like pay them up front, or like pay them up front for whatever their work is, and then depending on the contract, we can have like a thing where, depending on like what it is too, like they'll get a percentage of the back end of like sales on it. Like let's say like if I were to use somebody's design, if I were to pay an artist to use a design for like merchandise, me personally, and it goes different for other people, I would pay the artist up front and then have a percentage, like do like, okay, this is what I'm going to pay you up front, and then this is a percentage at the back end, so you get a percentage of sales. Because for me, like I like to try and be a little bit more collaborative with people I work with, and I like to be friends with somebody before I try to work with them, just because like also it takes down any egos and you can be more upfront with each other. Like if I'm working with an artist in the studio and I'm playing a chord progression and they're not really feeling it, I don't want them to just sit there and just
take
like
it.
take it. And then like when outside the studio, I'm like, hey, you've been right into like, oh yeah, I didn't really have time, or I'm been busy. Like I'm like, well, if you didn't like the beat, just tell me you don't like the beat. Like at least like when we break down that ego thing, like you're not going to hurt my feelings, because at the end of the day, we both want the same thing, which is a great song. So we should be able to tell each other that, like, if I think you can deliver that line better, and I know you can deliver that line better because we've worked together before, I'm going to tell you you can deliver that line better. And I know you're not going to take it the wrong way, because I'm not like, yo, you're trash, bro, like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, like, yo, go back in and do that line. I know you can kill that a little bit harder. All right, cool. And like, that's that.
Do you
No
think,
feelings hurt.
right? Do you think that Seattle artists are all that business oriented as being as a record label as you guys are, or do you think it's harder to find people who have like a strict outline of how they're going to succeed in music? These are the steps. These are people I want to work with. This is how much I charge. Or do you think more people are kind of maybe in a sense free falling and just grabbing on to, oh, you like me, so maybe I can work with you?
Um, I would say, like, from my experience, I'm not saying like this is like how every artist out here is, but from my experience, there's not too many artists that are business savvy. So I feel like sometimes they either like step on their own toes for certain things because they didn't know the verbiage for something, or they weren't completely understanding of it, or they just didn't know that they could do a certain thing to help them get to the next level.
Hmm.
um like there's art. I think another thing too is artists watch bigger artists too much, where they're like, oh well, so and so is doing this, so if I do that, then I already kind of sound like that person, so if I do this, like do what they're doing, then I'll get that same success. But it's like, no, it doesn't work for everybody. Like, no, like Drake can take a year or two off and then drop a single, and then people flock to it immediately, like as if he never left. But if you don't have that huge of a fan base, and you put out a project or like a single in September, and then you don't do anything until August, and then you drop a single without any promo, you can't really expect it to blow up like a Drake song.
Yeah.
Another thing too with like the whole business savvy thing is a lot of artists, I want to say a lot, because there's a lot that do actually promote their work, but there's so many artists that drop songs and then that's that. Like they'll drop a song, there'll be a couple posts about it on Instagram, but they haven't reached out to any blogs. They haven't reached out to like podcasts or radio stations or anything to like, okay, like what else can I do now? Because I say when it comes to making a song, obviously like a huge factor is the song itself, like how good the song is, but like the other like 60% of that is your marketing. Like you can make a dope song, but nobody's going to know it's a dope song if you don't put it in front of people.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's what I've noticed with you and your record label is that you guys have a lot of blog posts or interviews and articles written about you guys. How'd you guys go about doing that?
Just reaching out to, like there's some like I think there's the interview that we had with Voyage magazine. We got that through our homie Justin Hale, because he had did an interview with them. So then they reached out to us because of a project that we had worked on with him. But most of the time it's just like emailing. Like I'm just sitting, I'll have like days, like times within the day that I'm like, okay. And I like this helps me be on top of myself. It's like, okay, for this block of time, I'm going to hit up a bunch of blogs. This block of time, I'm going to grab a bunch of emails from YouTube channels and submit these songs. And then like, I'll write up like, a little EPK or like a press release to try and like hype up the song, make it more appealing. Because also like, you don't want to just like email somebody, like you don't want to email just like a blog, just the song, be like, hey, just drop the song, let me know what you think. Like you want to, have a package presented for them. Because at the end of the day, if you're submitting to something to like a blog, for example, or a magazine, if you already come to them with like stuff that they can just literally copy and paste and then maybe add like their own words to the article, they're more prone to picking you up than if you just said like, hey, here's my song. They're like, hey, do you have a bio? Do you have this? Do you have that? They're like, oh, I didn't think of that. They're like, oh man, like it's going to take a little bit longer, or sometimes they might not respond. Because I've had that happen before. I had made like a press release for one of my songs. I had hit up a blog. They're like, hey, like we really like your song. Do you have a press release that we can use for like an article? I'm like, oh, I don't. Like let me make one. But then they didn't even respond because like right there and then I didn't have one. So they're like, well, on to the next song, next submission.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's important for artists to understand that there's different levels of press, different ways to get press, and it's all important. Especially, I know this is kind of silly, but it's important to be verified on Instagram just because of the looks, that's really important, honestly, which sucks, but it does. And one way that Instagram makes sure that they can verify you is that you have articles written about you on the internet. So you're not just some random person just posting pictures of flowers and hoping that they're going to get verified. You have to have a name of some sort, be verified over the internet, you have to be engaging with your audience. So that's why you don't really see people with like 100 followers getting verified.
Mm-hmm. And engagement is a huge thing too. Like I feel like some people don't understand, like it sucks having to sit on your phone or having to sit on the computer for like hours at a time, just talking to people on social media. And especially with everything going on in the world, like there's a lot of ignorant shit that's on the internet that you don't want to see, because it's like, damn, I don't want to, now I got that in my head. Like, I don't want to hear, like, it's like a lot of factors.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes, damn, now see, I thought of that and now I just lost my train of thought. Damn, I'm sorry. What was the question again? Because
no. I just I just wanted to focus on like how important it is for artists to understand to get articles written about them, being engaging on Instagram, all these other social media platforms, things like that.
Yeah, like engagement's a huge thing. Like, just saying like hitting up somebody who follows you and just being like, hey, thanks for following me. Like, appreciate the support.
Hmm.
Don't you don't need to even drop your links in that. Just say like be personable with people. Responding to comments on your posts, like that's a huge thing because people are like, okay, cool. That makes people want to reach out to you more. Like that's going to make people more prone to commenting on your post because they see that you're responding to all the comments. They're like, oh, cool. If I say like, hey, I love this new song you just dropped, you're probably going to respond. And people sometimes need like somebody that whose music that they're into or whose art that they're into or somebody that they appreciate. Sometimes they're having a shitty day and that response can make somebody feel better and then they like you more because it's like they're actually a regular person. They're not just a face on Instagram with a couple of thousand likes or followers or whatever the case may be. Like this is a genuine person.
Building up an organic following is really important. That's why you can see even like freaking washed up rappers still able to go on tour because they have that following. Even no matter how big or small it is, they can still make money off that following.
Yeah. There's like it's crazy too, like kind of on topic but kind of off topic, but like there's artists that like don't have that much of a following out here that have a huge following somewhere else. Like they might have a huge following in a different country, and all of a sudden, okay, you can utilize those listeners and then help it spread out to countries nearby there. Like I've met artists that I've never heard of out here, but then like I go on Spotify and they have like almost 1 million listeners. And I'm like, damn, they got almost 1 million listeners. You go into their about and you go to see the countries, like, oh, damn, this is like all like European countries or Asian countries. So like, don't don't pigeonhole yourself to just the U.S. market because there's a lot of countries that are fucking with music way harder than you would think. Like I
And they
remember,
don't. Oh,
sorry,
I was just gonna say, like, countries outside of the U.S., they don't really, what we might not find to be good music, they might think is really good.
yeah, yeah, and like you got to think like the U.S. music market is like the biggest market in the world. Like if we're being honest, like so many countries pull influences from U.S. music. Like if you listen to like hip hop, there's hip hop and there's rap in other countries. Where did rap come from? They didn't come from that country. There's a lot of stuff that's like they are influenced by American culture. So I think it's good to like also be aware that if you might not somebody might not have a huge following in Seattle, but then they start like targeting their ads on Instagram to like Japan. All of a sudden there's like, yo, where is all this engagement coming from? Oh, I didn't realize that people in Japan would like this so much. Like I had when I used to work at this gym in South Lake Union, I used to have this one regular this old guy, old white dude, that is like 70s, used to come in and he used to manage a Jamaican band, like a reggae band, back in the 70s. And he said that he's like, dude, we never even had to come to America because they would just tour Japan and like other countries close by. Because he's like, when we would go to the Japan, walking through the streets, it was like you think you were with the Beatles, how huge like they would get rushed and shit. I'm like, damn, man, like that's just like one country that they're getting treated like that. So it's like you might not. There's people that have like millions of followers in the U.S. that you would have never known that they had 1 million followers because you never heard of them before.
It's crazy, especially the people behind the scenes. Those are the people you want to connect with. Like even people like you, being an audio engineer, producers, that stuff is all really important to know those people.
Oh yeah, because like you work with somebody who's also like in the same field with you. You guys get like are cool enough. You guys vibe enough. They might introduce you to somebody that you never thought you'd work with.
Hmm.
Like you meet like for me, if I were to meet like an audio engineer that like I respect their work and I like their work, and then like one day we're hanging out in their studio, and then so and so walks in the door, and I'm like, oh shit. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, like let me introduce you. I'm like, oh yeah, like I didn't think that, like just being genuine with people
Hmm.
and just reaching out, just collaborating. Collaboration is huge.
How do you build your name up as a producer? Is it because of like how many artists you work with, the level of artists you work with? Because I feel like producers are a thing that everyone needs no matter who they are. Like even Kanye West needs other producers versus just himself. So everyone always needs a producer. So is it harder to become a well-known producer that way, or because everyone needs one, it's easier?
Um, Well, it's tough because now with like the beat market is so saturated now, especially with like websites with like BeatStars and there's like another one that I forgot the name of that we used to use, but you know, it's great. It's great that now there's places. SoundClick was one that I used to go on to like years ago when I first got into music. But like, it's great that there's places that people can go and sell their production. But now it's so easy for people to sell their beats that it's kind of killing the marketplace in a little bit, because now you get people selling beats for like $20, and now you get like somebody were to go to like a semi big producer, not like saying like, you know, not going up to like a Timberland type producer, but they go up to like an artist that has some big placements. That artist is like, oh, my beat's $3,000. They're like, well, I could have got that same beat on BeatStars for $30. It's like, well, get that beat on BeatStars for $30. Like, go put that money in that producer's pocket then.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of these artists that do make it big though, like producing wise, I feel like if they continuously work with a certain group of people, whether it's like continuously work with like a Dr. Dre, and then can connect with people that are part of that, things like that. I feel like that's a big way to get built up. Like Murder Beats, for example, like him working with like Drake and everyone like that. Now
Yeah.
everyone knows who he is.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's good to like obviously collaborate with other producers, but also like I think it's like super key for artists to have like their go-to producer or go-to engineer, because like like look at Drake and 40. Like they worked together for so long that 40 knows exactly what keys sound best for Drake, what BPM sound best for him, where his vocals should sit in the mix, and how to mix the instruments accordingly. So it's like you've worked with somebody so long, you know their sound exactly. So, you know, like after a while working with that artist can expect consistent sound. And like, obviously if you're good at what you do, they're gonna be like, all right, cool. Like I know I'm going to go to this guy. Their sound is really good. And they know my voice well enough that my mixes always sound the way that I want them to. And it kind of helps the artist develop their own sound, because then they can start getting a feel for what beats they sound best over. Because sometimes not all beats are for everyone. Like I feel, especially for my production, like the type of my production is very like specific towards certain artists. Like I don't make beats that like anybody can hop on, and I'm aware of that, because I used to not be aware of that, where I was just like show anybody my beats, and like they might like the one that I thought was trash, and then I'm like, wait a second, so like there's like a marketplace for everyone. There's a fan for everything, I should say. So also like it's super selective, where not everything is for everyone. And I had to learn that a little bit the hard way, with being like, okay, listening to like, that's why there are type beats for artists. So if somebody has a sound similar to Travis Scott, they're going to go look up Travis Scott type beats. They're not going to go look up a DJ Premier type beat if they want some 808 bass in it.
Right. What's the hardest part of being a producer?
It's a good question. I'm not saying that like being a producer is super easy, but I guess like as long as you're doing something that you enjoy, like thoroughly, like you're super passionate about, is kind of like, I say like the hardest thing is just like writer's block, honestly. Like with the protests and everything that's been going on, like as soon as they started, like 2 weeks, I was just like no creative flow. Couldn't think of anything to like write to, and I just wasn't in the mood to work on music. I'm like, I am not in the headspace. Like I need to be at the protests. I need to be like spreading as much accurate information as I can. Like my mind was just completely off music. And I'd say getting back into working on music was tough because of having such a writer's block. And I'd say I got started working on music again like a week and a half ago, and I just got back into like my actual creative flow like 2 days ago. So I say like block is the toughest thing.
And being part of those Facebook groups is helpful too, probably. Like get inspiration from them, seeing what they're doing also. Like that's how I found you, you know. Found me. Worked out well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, being a part of that's like, you know, being a part of the community and like showing, not like, I want to say show face, because sometimes show face, people think of that as like you just show up somewhere just to say that you were there and then you're out, but more so like, you know, being involved, I should say.
So how did you get your studio in downtown like that? Is it just your record label that's part of there down there, or? How does that
So
all work?
our studio's in a space called Crybaby Studios, right on 11th and Pine. So like it's like a rehearsal space for bands. So there's like I think 30 something rooms down there. I could
Damn.
be underestimating it. Excuse me. There's a lot of rooms down there, but we just like got one of the larger rooms down there. We just happened to be at the right time. We like we clean up the walls because like it's a band space and it's a lot of grungy bands down there. So the spot that we had went into, it was like painted black walls with like white chalk drawn like all over the place. There's like cobwebs and shit. I'm like, damn, this is like a dungeon. I like this vibe, but we gotta clean this. So like we like cleaned it up, repainted everything. We built a vocal booth, which is fucking tough as it is. But we built a vocal booth, got it all set up and shit. And now we've been down there for like almost 2 years now.
Oh wow. So Crybaby Studios is like does it own like a whole building, and it's just like
They're more so I want to say the guy that owns, so we have a landlord, but the person who actually owns it, I think owns the whole building. But Crybaby Studios is only like a basement. So I don't know if you know where like Grimm's and Queer Bar are on 11th Line. It's literally like Grimm's. If you're like looking at Grimm's right here, on the left-hand side of Grimm's is like a black door, and that's just like the entrance to Crybaby Studios. So I feel kind of bad sometimes taking, especially like girls down there, like female singers, because I'm like, it's not what it looks like. I know this is a sketchy black door, and we're going under this building, but I promise you, like, this is legit.
R. Kelly's not down there.
Yeah, R. Kelly's
Damn, that's crazy. I think there's some really cool studios in the downtown area and outside of downtown for sure. Mine's on 2nd Avenue. So it's I've been kind of staying away from, I haven't been there for like 3 months now, which sucks. I used to go there all the time, but I've been staying away also because of the fucking protests. So that must be difficult for you too.
Yeah, because like I live like 5 minutes away from the studio, so it's like I live right in the midst of where the protests, where Chop is, but the studio is like right in there. So it's like it was before the cops had taken over and closed everything off. Like it was just tough getting over there because like I'd be in the protests and I'm like, I don't want to leave the protest to go down to the studio right now. Like it just doesn't feel right. So I'm like, well, the studio door's right there. Cool, I'm right here. But it's especially tough now with the cops harassing people the way that they have been over there, like trying to like threatening to arrest people, still hiding their badges and shit. So it's just not even worth trying to go over there. It's kind of tough. And like people are like, I've had clients like reached out after like I had made an announcement that the studio was opening again. And then they're like, hey, like, can we come down for studio time sometime soon? And I'm like, yeah, I wish you could. But, with everything going on in Chop, people weren't feeling super safe. And I've had, I've having other POC, like artists that I'm working with, they don't feel safe coming around an area where the cops are fucking harassing people. So I'm not going to obviously put them in harm's way of like potentially getting harassed, walking up to a sketchy black door. They're going to the basement of a building.
So what are your projections on what's going to happen in the next few months with the virus, music? Like, how are you feeling about everything?
I think honestly, like, I think music's going to thrive because I think the good thing with music is that they can adapt. Like I've noticed, especially with like hip hop is really thriving right now. And unfortunately for like EDM DJs, they have it tough because their sole income and like the way that they really get their name out there is doing shows and DJing, because there's a lot, like I'd say like a good portion of DJs don't produce. So if they can't just be at home working on music, producing, or like putting out music in the downtime, like if they're not performing shows, they're kind of fucked. I think that with the fact that we have streaming and like live streaming, like Twitch and Mixer and all that, I think it's really cool that people can utilize that to still perform. So I think that music, as far as performances go, I think they could possibly utilize live streaming for shows, because I've noticed there have been like live streamed festivals that have been getting some good feedback. So they might go that route for a couple months, because I do not think we're in the position to be opening up. Like they just discovered the bubonic plague in China.
Fuck yeah, I saw that.
So it's like, man, like y'all think that we're, just because these fucking Karens and Kens want to open up these hair salons and beaches and shit, y'all think that it's a good time to open? Y'all got it fucked up, because we're about to dig our own graves if that's the case.
Yeah, they've made this fucking disease way too political,
Yeah,
and
bro. Like to the point that like not, but they made it political. So it's like there's a good thing and a bad thing with it. It's like it's a bad thing obviously because it's spreading the fucking virus more because you get all these idiots that are huffing and puffing about not wanting to wear masks. So they're going out in public huffing and puffing in people's faces about the shit. And then but you know who to look out for because when you see those fuckers, you know, okay, that's a Trump supporter right there. They clearly
right.
think it's not existing. So I know to keep my distance for them because I might have to fold the fool like a lawn chair if he says the wrong shit to me around this.
What do you think about fucking Kanye running for president? I think it's not. I don't think it's.
Bro, I hope he's serious with that shit because I'm seeing people posting like they would vote for him. And I hope they realize what that means if they vote for him because I know he had like said that he's not about Trump, but I don't know, man. You don't just be wearing a MAGA hat for mad long and then all of a sudden switch sides.
Yeah, I think there's too many things at work. Honestly.
Yeah, like there's so many. It's just suspect, man. Like Trump is his numbers are so down right now. Why the fuck would Kanye need to come out and say that he's going to run for president?
Because maybe he thinks he has a shot. I don't know. I feel like fucking he could use the race card and be like, "Oh, Trump was so racist. Now we need Black Lives Matter and everything. You should vote for me." You know, like it could be a weird thing. Plus, he has a lot of fans.
I
So,
know, like man, like that's another thing because his fans are like I'd say his fans are close to like Beyonce fans.
fuck yeah, Beyonce,
Ride or die,
Beehive.
just the Beehive, bro. Like I don't even know what the Kanye West like stands call themselves. Like Yeezites or something.
Yeezites.
But like I have a feeling that if they vote if enough people vote for him, it's not going to be a good look because I my personal belief is that it's to draw attention to draw votes away from Biden.
Hmm.
He's homies with Trump. Like just because you denounce somebody out in public, don't mean that you don't hang out with dude behind closed doors. Because Trump
Yeah.
he still won't admit that he was hanging out with Epstein. Meanwhile, there's fucking pictures all over the place. So it's just like, man, I don't know. You already associated with him, so you already tainted that. So like the fact that you're like, oh, I'm not homies with him, but now I'm running for president, even though his numbers are low. Like that shit don't add up, man. I wasn't
No,
good
it
at math
doesn't.
in school, but I know how to add, and that shit.
I don't know. This virus is weird too. Everything's just adding up to a weird fucking shit show of 2020.
And 2020 is like not the year. Like everybody's like, this is the year of clarity. Yeah, it is the year of clarity because you're people. A lot of people are showing their asses this year.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I thought people were doing a lot of thinking about themselves during this, like looking inward and being like, oh, I can change this way. And I
Mhm.
think it was for the first month. And then people were like, okay, fuck this. Like I think, I don't know. I feel like there's less and less positive optimism you can take out of what's going on.
Yeah,
It's like you see, like here's the bright side, but now I feel like the bright side's getting like smaller and smaller, and we're just getting fucked. And then people are gonna vote whether whoever it is just because they're scared or annoyed. Those are both two types of emotions you don't want to vote for. Like you don't want to be scared into voting. You don't want to be so annoyed that you're voting because out of anger.
yeah. Like I don't think that should be any emotion with voting. Like you should look at the facts. Like people put too much emotion into like politics.
Mhm.
Like they put emotion and they put religion into politics, and you can't look at it like that. Like you got to look at it like straightforward. Like yeah, somebody might believe this, like have a belief about this particular thing, but like if you're not looking at the bigger picture, then like you're not really like you don't really know what's going on. Like there's man, like having to cut friends off because they're looking at the wrong thing of the bigger picture. Like people that like living in this area having to cut people off because they think that business is getting damaged, even though there wasn't really any damage to any businesses in Capitol Hill. That
Mhm.
business is getting damaged. Like is more important than the people dying for the cause. They're like, oh well, I hope those lawsuits against the city win, blah 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 blah. That's what happens for destroying my city. It's like, bro, first off, what have you even done for the community for you to warrant that kind of entitlement? Because clearly going out to bars and restaurants ain't supporting the community like you fucking think it is, my dude. Like people like that shit, like, oh man. And
Yes, I see it.
I'm sweating right now.
You gotta be on my second podcast. I have a second podcast called BBC Blake Burton Conspiracies. And we
Hey,
talk, and I have a co-host for it, and we talk about like a specific topic, conspiracy, question, and we just go in on it. And we're gonna have you on it. You're gonna go
oh,
in.
I'm definitely like I'm like I don't like to talk unless like I have something to really talk about. But sometimes, man, like some people say some shit where I'm like, bro, you really think like that? Like, this is your thought process? How can this person be a person of color and say that these things happening to another group of people of color, they deserve it because they fucked up your community? Like somebody, like that person just died on like I-5 a couple of days ago from getting hit by a car.
Yeah,
And
that was insane.
and somebody on Facebook saying that, well, they shouldn't be in the highway protesting. They could be protesting out like other ways. Okay, first off, bro, the highway was closed. Secondly, the dude went up like an exit ramp to get on there. So how are you gonna say that that's their fault? Like, that's like so fucking close-minded. Like people piss me off, bro.
But you're from the outside looking in though. Like you moved from New Jersey. I'm guessing you lived there for a decent part of your life. So to come here, that how people think is really different compared to the rest of the world almost.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because we're supposed to be seen as people who are really open-minded, but
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of see the open-mindedness almost closes your mind if you get it.
Because like the thing, like I thought, like, that's a big thing of why I moved out here, because I thought, like, they're super open-minded in Seattle. Like it's very progressive. Like my sound of music will fit well over here. But then you realize that, like, people are open-minded to however large their mind can get within the bubble that they live in. Like they can be like everybody's in a bubble. Like not everybody, but there's a lot of people in a bubble that they can only be so as far open-minded as their bubble allows them to be. And then once it hits that limit, then they're just like, well, fuck this. Like I'm not feeling like in my safe zone. Like I don't feel safe at night walking to bars and restaurants. It's like, well, first off, how do you think these other people are feeling? They're supposed to feel safe when cops are around, but the fucking cops are harassing them. And you're over here thinking like cops aren't all bad because you have a couple friends who are cops. I have a friend that's a cop too, and I'm still saying fuck the police.
Fucking Karen started in Washington.
Oh yeah,
Like,
bro. I'm not surprised.
like that's
My girlfriend works in a hair salon, bro. And the amount of stories that she tells me, like, I get more upset about the shit than she does. I'm like, yo, man, like I could not. Like I wanted to work at her spot for a couple of days just to talk shit to people, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to fucking have to listen to that shit, because like it's mind-boggling how closed-minded and ignorant people can be, and how entitled, especially after a pandemic. Like people getting upset that like somebody can't come to an appointment, or somebody can't be at their job because they could be sick, and people are getting upset and not understanding, like, we're in a pandemic right now. Like if you're trying to set an appointment for something and it gets canceled, or you cancel it and you can't do it at that time, there's 1,000 other people trying to get appointments for things right now. So you're going to have to realize and accept the fact that you might not be able to get your thing done. It's either you get your thing done this day or you get your thing done in a couple months. Because there's 1,000 other people that are waiting to do that same shit. And people are just not understanding at all. Like people walking into places, like, it's so bad how like understanding people have to be for your governor to be like, okay, okay, y'all need to businesses either need to turn people, like, you need to wear a mask, or businesses have to turn people away, because so many people are like, nah. And there's even businesses that are just like, yeah, it's whatever, like, they can wear a mask if they want, or they can't, or they don't have to. It's like, well, so when you start getting sick and your liquids, your lungs turn to liquid, are you really want about that dollar like that? Like, I don't get people's, like, it goes back to like turning shit into a political thing. Like they turned coronavirus into a political thing, and it's like, it's not. Like, this is a life or death kind of thing. This ain't political. This ain't a choice. You have to fucking do this or die, or run the chance of other people dying.
Look at the fucking numbers right now. They're blowing up. Like fucking Florida had like 10,000 cases the other day.
Bro, tell me how there's more cases in Florida than fucking France, my dude. How do we have more cases in a single state than a whole ass country has? That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me. But if you look, all the states that are having these numbers skyrocket are all Trump supporting states. So it's like, oh, it makes sense. Like, Of course, these fucking idiots are gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go out to the bar and not wear a mask because Trump said it's okay. Okay. And look at his administration. Look how many people closer and closer the what is it called? 6 degrees of COVID. So this person got it, somebody else got it. It's just getting closer and closer. And sooner or later, his ass, you never see his ass with the mask on. Sooner or later, he's gonna get that shit.
People already try to say he's already had it and like already has a vaccine or some shit. There's so many different fucking conspiracies on everything that's going on. But it's
Yeah, man.
I don't know, man. I just know that this thing is real. I know that I've turned down going to parties. I know I've turned down doing interviews in person. And I know I've turned down hanging out with big groups of friends, even if it's not a party, even if it's just going out to lunch at a park. I know I've turned down that because this shit is real.
It's real.
And kids are starting to get it now too,
Yeah, man. Like kids are getting it. Like teenagers are getting it. Like I saw a couple of days ago, some random person had tweeted that their friend who was only 23 got it, and then within 2 days they died. And it's like, man, like people don't realize how serious this shit is until somebody they know or somebody close to them gets it, and God forbid they die from it. Then is this shit still fake to you? Are you gonna go to their grave and fucking talk at their funeral and say, I don't know what they died from, but it's sad that they died?
Fucking stupid. Fucking stupid. Well, Sir Nicolas, is there any advice that you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
Be consistent. I know it's tough right now with everything going on in the world, and it's tough to get your creative juices flowing. But when you're able to, just be consistent. Like put all your emotion into your craft, and just keep doing what you're doing. Because you know what, at some point, consistency will help you get there one way or another. Just keep doing. Be a good person about it. Be genuine with it, and you know what, you'll see the fruits of what's going on, of what you're doing.
And everyone's grinds at a different time and point in time. Like not everyone's going to make it at the exact same time. Some people make it faster. Some people it takes longer. Just gotta be with it.
Like don't think of success as instant gratification, because you might be working on music now and then you might not blow up for another 5-10 years later, but at least you had fun doing it, and you keep on doing it, you're gonna see something from it. Like don't think that if you keep on doing music or keep doing whatever you're doing, that it's not going to work out just because you haven't seen like immediate success right now. Like, you keep on doing little things here and there, and it's just going to add up. Just going to keep on adding up. So just being consistent and just grind as hard as you are comfortable with. Don't be super lax and just like put shit out and expect it to blow up on its own. But also like, don't stress yourself out about it. At the end of the day, like you're doing what you love. Don't turn it into a stressful situation, because then you'll fall out of love with it. And you never want that with something that you plan to do for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Great point. What is the easiest way to reach you?
So I'm on Instagram and Twitter under Sir Nick Official, Nick with NIC. And then I'm going to start being on Twitch probably this week. If you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'll be posting those links. I'm going to be starting a Patreon. I'm actually working on some loot packs today for my Patreon, so I can start doing, like having people be a part of like my community, where I can, there's going to be various tiers. I'll go into that later on, but pretty much, getting more music creatives together. I'm going to have like, Q&As, beat critiques, live streaming, like collaborative sessions with artists, so people can get a feel for like the workflow that I like to go through with working with other people.
So you're not going to be like twitching. Is that what you call like when you're on Twitch? Are you saying I'm twitching, or?
I'm twitching, bro. I just say live streaming, just like just live streaming. I'm twitching out, bro.
I'm twitching right now, man. Gotta talk to you later. So you're not gonna be doing like video games. It's gonna be mostly focused on like music and everything like that, like tutorials, or?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be so pretty much like how my live streams are gonna go. The first part of it is gonna be making a beat from scratch. So just like going through my workflow of producing, and then the second part of my live stream will be like Q&A, So I'll still have like so the way that I have my setup is I'm pretty much set up like this, but you're gonna also be able to see my Ableton screen, and I have another camera that's showing my keyboard. So while I'm playing keys out, you can like get a feel for like the chords that I'm playing, or see like what I'm doing with my right hand for melodies, or whatever the case may be. Be more involved with like the product, like the creation of the beats. And then the second part would be like Q&A. Like they can pick my brain about certain things within what I'm doing right now, or they might have like a question about compression, or they might have a question about music theory, and I can just like talk with the chat group, the chat about that.
Damn, that actually sounds really fucking dope. And then you got to find a way to throw that up on YouTube afterwards, also. Dude.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to like figure out like how to be a little bit more strategic about it. So some of like the things that I'll be streaming on my Patreon, I won't be streaming on my Twitch, and vice versa. So like when I'm streaming on Patreon, like I'll be streaming like my Patreon will be more so when I'm working with other artists, so people can see like my collaborative flow. And then when I'm Twitch live streaming, it's going to be me working solo, like building everything from complete scratch. Because sometimes when I'm working with another artist with those Patreon streams, it might be a song that we've started already, and it's just like, okay, like they're recording these parts, or there might be sections where we're both working on the lyrics together, or the melodies.
Damn.
And then I'm gonna take little snippets, like little important bits, and put those on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm. Like Joe Rogan clips, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, that sounds really dope, man. And I hope that down the road, once this thing clears up, we can meet at each other's studios and collab more and stuff like that. Because collaboration in Seattle is very key, anywhere, but especially in Seattle, because right now we all have to bring this community together.
Yeah.
I mean, connecting with the audience, like normal people who don't do music in Seattle need to understand what the Seattle music scene's about, and the Seattle music scene has to explain that in a way that makes them want to connect with them better.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, especially with like I don't want to run your runtime over, but especially with like Amazon workers, or like people that work in like the tech industry, like those people don't know what's going on with the music industry, like the music scene out here. So like that's why like those people only go out to bars and restaurants. They don't really know too many like venues or what's the up and up in the music scene. So definitely like reaching out to like those kind of groups on Facebook. Like there's Facebook groups for all kinds of companies for their employees. You join that group and you drop like a flyer for a show, like a virtual, like a live streaming show in there. They're like, oh shit. Or like, when things start opening up, you have a show, you can put it in there. They might not know that Seattle has shows on Sunday nights. There's been so many times where I've taken an Uber home from a show on a Sunday night or Monday night, and then like somebody gets into my car because my dumbass forgot to do the solo Uber. So I'm sharing my car. And then like the driver will talk with them like, hey, what you getting into tonight? Like, oh yeah, it's not much going on a Sunday night. I'm like, actually, like I just came from a show. There's like another show that was before that show, and then there's a couple other shows going on right now. Like but they don't know that. So reaching out to those communities that aren't really in the music scene, and kind of like dropping some breadcrumbs for them to follow back, so that you can start garnering those kind of fans. Because also those Amazon people, and like not just Amazon, but in the tech industry, there's a lot of people that are from other countries. So that person might fuck with that music, but not know where to go to for that music out here. And they hear it and like, oh shit. So when they have their friends come out and visit them from wherever they're from, they're like, oh, there's a show going on at this place that's hip hop, or there's a show going on at this place that's R&B, or whatever the case may be. And now they know that there's other things going on in the city besides what just Amazon posts on their bulletin board for their employee social gathering shit.
Yeah, there's so many different art styles in Seattle that like there's literally there's space for everyone.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. There's an avenue. There's a space. There's fans for anyone, for everyone.
Tons of different type of shit.
Oh yeah.
But I had a great time talking with you, man, and I end the podcast by saying this is the Nast podcast, and you say your name. So this is the Nast podcast with
Sir Nicolas.